retired Master Sergeant. I served 22 years in SF, 2 years in the Navy, and then I served as a Special Forces Weapons Sergeant for over 13 years. I was an 18 Fox for a few years, and then my last 6 to 8 years was Team Sergeant, Master Sergeant, Operations Sergeant. So I served all capacities, but I spent my entire career at 3rd Group and my last few years at 1st Special Forces Command. And, I helped stand up the Human Performance Wellness programs while I was there, and then the Meta Transition program. So always, since I was a little kid, since I can remember, always wanted to serve. I had a family, all my uncles, Army. My dad was Navy, and we grew up Cold War kids, and that was it. Good PSYOPs campaign as kids, all the movies and everything made us want to join, but always want to help people and serve and give back and protect the country. So I would say mental strength or psychological resilience is the ability to adapt and to bounce back, to be able to overcome, not take everything as a defeat, but a lesson, and to get back up and keep going and never giving up and learning. The biggest thing is learning from it, not just keep doing the same thing over and over, but being able to help other people with what you learn. It comes back to understanding the why of why people are wanting to kill themselves. And it comes down to pain and suffering and feeling like you can't recover from something. And if you understand that and you can talk to somebody who's going through that and relate to them and say, hey, look, abnormal response to an abnormal situation is normal behavior. And if you get to the point where you've done something you've regretted, or you've witnessed something you couldn't stop, or you're just in physiological pain and you can't recover from it and you're not sleeping and it's affecting your quality of life, there's something you can do about that. But you can't medicate people away from the why. That the medication only works on the what. And if you really get to what's driving the pain and the suffering, and you get people to understand that, hey, there is a way to recover, there is a way to get better, then they're going to go to that. But if you tell them this is the new you, live with it, learn how to deal with it, then that's pretty much a death sentence for a lot of people who every day, half of them don't even get to wake up because they don't sleep. And so if they get through a program or they talk to other people who've been through this and came out the other side, it gives them hope, and that's what we need is hope. But if you're not tethered to this earth spiritually, whether it's religion, purpose, or whatever it is, they don't have a reason to live anymore. They're not going to be around for much longer. Don't struggle silently. Tell somebody. Reach out, because there's way more people going through this than they think. We just hide it very well. People put on good masks. And you'd be surprised at how many people are going through the same type of thing. And once people find out they're not alone, they're like, okay, like there's people out here I can reach out to, and there's things we can do. And that's what I do on a daily basis. Yeah, don't suffer in silence. We learned that in the military, to compartmentalize and worry about everyone to your left and right before you do anything for yourself, which also comes from childhood a lot. Being hyper independent, latchkey kids, Gen Xers. But when that serves well in the military to be able to do that, to get through combat, but it doesn't serve your family life and your home life. It has the opposite effect of that when you compartmentalize and try to push through things like that. Also, the families are the first people to see the change. They have mom or dad goes off to war, and then all of a sudden this person comes back a shell of who they were. They're there in physical form, but psychologically their minds are not there. They're dissociated, and dissociated for a good reason, not because they don't care about their family, but because they know what they have to go back to. They know what they have to do to survive what they're going back to. And someone who sees death and destruction on a regular basis, how do you let that wall down? You have to be apathetic. You have to be able to pull emotions out of things, to put yourself in those situations and get home alive. And, no one tells us that. We kind of figure it out as we get stress inoculated and exposed to those things. Not that, like, when we come in the military, hey, we're going to, dehumanize our enemy. We're going to make you so you don't, think of them as a dad, a husband, or whatever. And we're going to teach you how to put bullets through people, but we're not going to teach you how to transition back from that when you come home. And there's nothing there. I'll go back to the abnormal reaction to an abnormal situation's normal behavior. When you subjugate people to that type of trauma, over and over again, of course they're going to put walls up. Of course they're going to dissociate. And of course they're going to, as they come out of that environment, question some of the things they might have done. And unfortunately, there's no, again, I'll go back to, there's no training on that. There's no formal training of taking people after a deployment and be like, hey guys, we understand what you did. We understand what this does to you. If there's anybody that is struggling, come find us. We say it all the time, but do people show up at the behavioral health office and say, hey man, I'm going through this? Hell no, because you don't want to get sidelined. But if you put maintenance in the schedule, if you put it in there and normalize it to say, hey, we're going to do this thing where it's not an option. We're going to go through, we're going to give you a little bit of education, and then we're going to give you and your family some resources in case you need it. So it goes back to like the car. If your check engine light is going off telling you there's an issue, it's, hey, bring this thing to a place to get maintained and serviced so that check engine light will go out and you can go back to living. And it's the same thing with us. We keep saying humans are more important than hardware, but we don't put the checks and services into us as we do our hardware. Leave it better than you got it. That was something when you came into the regiment, it's always leave it better than you got it. And, a lot of the stuff you see downrange with awards and cool guy stuff, it's not what you did for everyone else. Some of that stuff obviously was, and for good reason, but it's not about all the cool guy stuff, leaving your legacy. It's how do you leave the regiment better than you got it? And that comes back to people and taking care of people. Our people will volunteer to put themselves in harm's way any day of the week and love doing what they're doing. But if they come home and are tossed to the curb, and we talk about this brotherhood thing all the time, and then when someone is going through struggles or does something wrong, the weight of the world goes against them. And I always go back to, it's not what's wrong with that person, it's what happened to that person. And if we know that we're taking kids who grew up in horrific environments and we send them to war and do all this stuff and stress inoculate them and run them like racehorses, and then when they have a small problem, we turn our backs on them, that's something we don't want to do. Obviously, there's some bad apples in every bunch, but as a community, we just do better to take care of the people that volunteered to sacrifice themselves and their families to do this job. And there's people out and organizations out there that are living to that creed. So that'd be it. Leave it better than you got it. Take care of people. Make humans more important than hardware. Again, it goes back to the people suffering in silence. When other people hear something that they've been through and can relate to, hey, I'm not alone. It's validation. Okay, I'm not weak, I'm not broke, I'm adapted. I've changed because of what I was exposed to. Whether it's psychological illness or physiological illness, it's a response to something in your environment or your lifestyle. And once we start looking at it that way, it's not what's wrong with you, it's what happened to you. And what were you exposed to? What is causing this thing? But in society, we're an insta society now where everything's a push button or a pill to solve your problems. And we're looking at the what, not the why. People weren't the victim society. That's what made Americans Americans. We were resilient. Bad shit happened to us, but we got right back up on the horse and we kept going. Now we have a society that everybody's a victim. And it's feel sorry, people owe you things. Don't worry about going back to work because you stubbed your toe. Like, we have to get back to that point where it's like, okay, things happen to you, you learn from, you got better, go back and do it again, but learn from your mistakes. Overcome, which is post-traumatic growth, is overcoming what has happened to you and normalizing that in a society where I won't be a victim, I refuse to be a victim. So this is Geoff Dardia, and this is my story. Don't come around me, correct.